Hi, everyone. I am Dr. Sonia Fung, owner of the Livewell Clinic here in La Quinta. You can find me online at livewellclinic.org or on our social feeds on Facebook at Livewell Clinic La Quinta and Instagram on at Livewell Clinic and at Dr. Sonia Fung. So today, um, we're going to talk about what is the biggest hurdle to your peace of mind right now. And I have a guest today. So I've asked my friend and colleague and fellow fashionista, Katie Reese, who is a licensed clinical social worker, to talk about this subject. And here she is, Katie. Hi.
Hello.
Thank you so much
Hi.
for being a part of this and being here to talk about, um, to talk some reason amidst this chaotic time. If you can you tell us a little bit about like what your practice is and really what types of issues you're currently seeing in your patient population?
Sure. So I have a private practice where I see all ages from children to adults, as well as couples and families. And I deal with the whole host of concerns and issues. It just kind of depends on what people's needs are and how I focus my treatment and my approach. In light of the pandemic, whereas most of my clients experience some level of depression and anxiety to some extent, to varying degrees, of course. But in light of the pandemic, things have been thrusted into overdrive as far as anxiety and depression go, not just for my clients, but more concerning is the community at large and behaviors that are being seen now in response to the crisis that's happening. So a lot of what I've been seeing is fear-based responses and fear coming from a multitude of places, whether it be the fear of getting sick, the fear of how are you going to pay your bills, the fear of losing your job. That then is coupled with worry, chronic worry that we call anxiety, chronic debilitating worry that consumes your thoughts, has an impact on your daily life as far as sleep, either sleeping less or sleeping more, appetite, eating more, eating less, decreased motivation to engage in activities that you once enjoyed. The problem with this situation is that there isn't an outlet to engage in preferred activities anymore because a lot of that has been shut down and are canceled. So I'm dealing with a lot of trying to navigate that, and it's very unique to each individual circumstances, very, very unique, but the themes are fear and levels of anxiety, depression regarding whatever specific circumstances that they're dealing with, which are, again, are very unique.
Right. So when we were kind of talking about this earlier, the way that, myself being very introverted, like my social outlet is not going out and seeing people. So that's not like a trigger for me, or that's not a release for me. But I do have, of course, and I think every small business owner has this underlying economic, financial type of a worry that, as this continues, we're not, we may not be able to, you know, some owners are not able to pivot quick enough or move into a virtual or online sphere. Um, you know, they're losing their typical income, and so that's a different fear, but we're expressing it and looking for solutions in different ways.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great example of a really particular type of circumstance that is triggering a lot of worry. People are more comfortable with the term worry than anxiety, but I call it anxiety, but you can call it worry, whatever you want to call it. Regarding, aspects of their life that are no longer the same. And so this is an interesting dynamic in what is happening because we're all experiencing some level of what I have been referring to as suffering. We are all suffering in some way. And like you said, whether it be economic, business related, socially, or on the other side of the spectrum, there are those people that are being overutilized, grocery workers, certain parts of healthcare are being, extremely utilized. So they're having burnout issues. So, but suffering nonetheless, right? We're all kind of experiencing it in a different way, even us, right?
Yeah.
For me, the inability to move freely and kind of engage in preferred activities has been more impactful for me. And that is something that is, unique to me in my situation, like here you're talking about with your business and the people that you employ, right? What I have found though in, and my clients will know who they are. I've surveyed a few of them just to kind of get a consensus and just kind of been paying more attention. What I found is that I think the most, and I don't want to put a value judgment on it, but the most common and I think most consistent complaint and or grievance that I'm hearing is a feeling of a real deep feeling of disconnectedness. And it's manifesting in a variety of ways. So people aren't able to leave their house or are told not to leave their house and not to see loved ones that they maybe saw on a very regular basis. And so that's creating a huge impact as far as feeling disconnected. They haven't seen their friends in some period of time because you're told to just see, people within your household or maintain that. And even those that didn't maybe have a big social network, because there's a lot of those, that they just don't have a big social network and don't have family nearby or anything like that. But they're also being impacted as far as the disconnectedness goes, because I think we take for granted just being able to go to the grocery store and like chit chat with people in line or chit chat with the person at the register or somebody in line with us. Like we get our social needs met even in that way. Now, I don't think that is enough, but it's something. Now take that, what's relative to them, and they were getting kind of socially fed in that way. They were getting filled up in that way, if you will. That's now been taken away because we have to stand, 6 feet apart, and there's only so many people allowed in the store at a time, and in a lot of circumstances. And now we've added, for me, that was like a huge kind of the cherry on top is now we have to wear masks. So now we can't even see each other's faces. So what's happening is people aren't even bothering to make eye contact. Even though you can kind of still tell if somebody's smiling behind their mask, people really aren't bothering to do that. And so it's creating a real sense of loneliness and isolation, even though we're amongst people for the most part, going to the grocery store and like getting, essentials.
Right. So what are some of the steps or strategies that you are utilizing with your clients to help them cope with this and get them through this difficult period?
So I kind of take a two-step approach. There's more of a practical approach that I think most people will be able to relate to. So just practically, structure is really, really important to your day. And I'm sure most people have heard this, but it is important to hold yourself accountable to some level of structure and some sort of schedule. Obviously, it's not going to look, if you're out of work and you're home and your kids are home and everybody's going nuts, there's some level of structure that can be created within the new environment. So waking up at a certain time, having breakfast at a certain time, making sure that meals are waking up at a certain time really is kind of the hardest thing because there is nothing holding people accountable to have to get up early. Right. And look at small kids that have to be in school, and even the distance learning is very inconsistent depending on what school and what district you're looking at. So some schools are fully on board. Kids are in class virtually all day, just virtually. And others, there's nothing. I mean, occasionally a teacher will send out an assignment, but doesn't even count towards their grade now. So, it's supposed to be, it will bring their grade up. It will not bring their grade down because their grade's already been determined. So, and for the parents having to then not only set a structure for themselves, but set a structure for their kids as well, especially those that don't have schools, the accountability factor is really important. And this is a very unique time in that we have more time, probably more time than we should have in a lot of respects. But if you have a list of things that you've been wanting to do, or project that you've been wanting to do, or things that you're trying to get your husband to do, but you can't get him to do it because he's at work tired. Not trying to put that out there, but just a thought. This is a good time to get projects done and do things done that you normally wouldn't have had the time to do. But as this continues to go, these types of practical steps start to have less of an impact and start to be less helpful. Now we're heading in, I think, to in California, week 6 of this, 5. I think we're finishing week 5 and about to head into week 6.
Yeah. For me, it's about week 4.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think since California issued the order, which was, I think, on March 19th. I think that's when California issued the order. So
yeah,
that's
so it's probably about a month, a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm noticing is that those types of practical things are becoming less helpful, because again, and then we go back to kind of processing the fact that there is so much unknown to this, and that is creating even more anxiety. And people that aren't in treatment, that aren't familiar with these thoughts and feelings, I'm hearing just kind of in casual conversation, are what they're describing is feeling less motivated, having low energy, decreased happiness and joy in a general sense, and just kind of having this heaviness kind of upon them. Now, clients that have been in treatment, they're familiar with this. They know it's some combination of depression coupled with anxiety. They tend to go hand in hand. Depending on the individual, one may take more precedent than the other. But even people that aren't in treatment, I think what's happening is people are confused and they don't know what it is that they're feeling, why it is that they're feeling that way. And so kind of everything that I've been talking about is why we're feeling this way. I mean, and I say we, because all of us are feeling it to some extent.
And acknowledging that this is very common. Everyone's feeling some level of this type of anxiety or depression, and or a combination thereof, and that it is completely normal, and especially at this time, to be going through these types of emotions.
Yes, and I think for people that aren't in treatment, just having worked with a lot of people that have never been in treatment before, and then working with them and going along that journey with them. Initially, people try to rationalize and try to make sense of why they're feeling this way, and so they kind of reach for things out in their immediate environment to see and try and identify them as triggers, when really it may not be that. It's, in this circumstance, it's the entirety of the situation that we're all in, and so it's definitely a typical and very expected response, I guess is how I want to say it. And so I don't want people to kind of think that something's wrong with them or they shouldn't be feeling this way. I have all this time off. And it's lack of structure, lack of connectedness with people that we are used to connecting with. We're very social beings. We need to be together, and how we commune with each other is very unique and individual to each person, but we need it. We need it to be fed emotionally, mentally. And so this is as I see it, this is has become a huge, and will continue, I think, to be far reaching as far as the mental health and emotional impact this is having on people, that I think will spread far wider than I think we're even able to see, because this is something that is going to be slow to grow. And then the aftermath of everything, whatever the carnage is going to be, which there will be some carnage, in that economically and socially and health-wise, and all of the different factors that are going to play a role, we don't even know what that's going to look like. And so this, again, then adding more to it. And as a business owner, I'm sure you relate to that in a lot of ways. And like, what is this going to look like? How's this going to look like after the fact? How are we going to move forward? And I think in your circumstances, you know, using those kind of more broad questions can fit into most people's lives in some way.
So what is one thing that you can leave with the viewers on what they can do to, like, if they need to, we'll talk about, you know, we'll give them your information if they need to like seek help, or if they are, a lot of deeper things are coming through and then they're finally recognizing that and need to work through that. That's like something else. But what about somebody that, just in general, what would you say the one biggest piece of advice that they can utilize on like a daily basis to help to combat this type of underlying anxiety or depression?
Work really diligently at getting your needs met. And when I say needs, I mean your social, emotional, and mental health needs met. We all have needs and they look different. They're uniquely tailored to each of us, but we are going to get to a point in which people are going to have to make a choice, right? Are you going to continue to suffer as badly as you feel like you're suffering? If that's the case, and then you're going to have to make a choice, right? So if it's feeling disconnected, if it's feeling lonely, you have to make more conscious effort in reaching out to people in your life. And, you know, at this point, they're encouraging more virtual reaching out. I look at that as a really sorry substitute, but it is a substitute nonetheless. So I use the analogy of it's like you're really thirsty and you just like want a cup of water, but somebody hands you a cup of ice. You're like, okay, it's something, I guess.
Now, right? We'll make
it's better than what I had. It's
right.
not what I want, but it'll do. It will sustain me for a period of time, because we know that we can all know this will end at some point. We don't know when though, but again. So do what you need to do to get fed, to get emotionally, spiritually, mentally fed in a way, in a manner in which is safe and appropriate for the times, but still gets your needs met. We all will get to a point in which we, again, are going to have to make a choice, and that we won't continue to suffer if there's another option available to us where we can kind of get fed and find happiness and joy in particular. Happiness is one thing, but joy really is, I think, the goal. Mm-hmm. Find little ways to bring yourself joy on a daily basis, and understand that we are all in this together and we're all suffering in some way. And that one suffering is no better and no worse than yours. What can happen, and this is kind of another point that I want to make, is that it's very easy to fall into the thought pattern of, oh, well, it's not that bad. It's not that bad for me. I don't have a right to be sad or irritated or upset, because I don't know, we still have our job, like we're very blessed in that way, you know, but we all are missing something that we normally would have had. Mm-hmm. So don't invalidate your own feelings for feeling upset and angry and irritable and just the lack of motivation and joy. Don't now then shame yourself for feeling that way, because then you just add to it. So to sum it up, find a way to find joy daily. Do whatever you need to do that's within the recommended guidelines to find joy and to connect, mm-hmm. and get yourself fed in that way. And also validate your own feelings during this process, because everybody's experience is different. Everybody's is unique. That does not make it better or worse than somebody else's necessarily, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
So thank you so much for joining us today, Katie, and thank you so much for our viewers for joining us. If anything we spoke about today leads you into a deeper emotional search that you need help navigating, or it brings up health issues, I know that you can reach out to Katie through her email, which is Catherine, Katherine, Reis, Reis at outlook.com. You can also email my clinic at info@livewellclinic.org to schedule virtual appointments. We are definitely still open and running online. So we are here to help you, and we are still here, and we can be that social connection for you. And so thank you again for listening today. If you want to see more of more health tips, and which through my YouTube account, you can go to Live Well Clinic IPC, as well as you can sign up for my email list. You can text Live Well Clinic to 22828 for more great videos and to keep up to date with the current health topics. So thank you again today, and
Thank you.
and take care.
See you later.
Stay safe.